Have you ever wanted to take a look behind the scenes at one of Asia's most famous single malt distilleries? Well, that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. I'm Jeff, this is gwhisky, and today we're visiting Kavalan. So I finally got out to the Kavalan Distillery. This has been a long time coming. As a lot of you guys know, I'm based in Taiwan, so is Kavalan Whiskey, and you guys have been asking for this tour for years. So recently I reached out to their team. I said, hi guys, it's gwhisky, and I would just love to do a VIP tour at your distillery. To which they replied, oh yeah, wow, great. Who are you? So naturally, I started explaining to them that I'm incredibly important, I'm incredibly famous, incredibly humble, and eventually they did give in to my honestly desperate begging, and they said, sure, swing by, shoot a video here, we'd be happy to have you. Not only that, they also granted me an interview with one of their master blenders, Miss Ann Ho, and they also sent me off on a couple little fun side adventures, so we'll get into all of that in today's video. Now, before we jump into the tour, I do have a mystery pour in my glass. Of course, it is a Kavalan today. This one is one of their more famous, more well-known, internationally available releases, and it's been matured in 3 different types of casks. So that's your hint. Good luck guessing. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into our tour. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. So the whole thing kicked off in the very posh lobby where we met up with our tour guides, and the first stop was a trip to a little auditorium where they showed us a video that kind of introduced the brand, talked about it a little bit. Now, Kavalan's actually owned by this really big Taiwanese conglomerate called King Car, and these guys make a little bit of everything. So we get stuff like coffee, bottled water, energy drinks, noodles, porridge, and last but certainly not least, HPV tests. I didn't see that last one coming either. Anyway, after the movie, we went on to what was, for me, one of the highlights of this tour. We walked over to the cask recharring station. This was a highlight for me, not only because I have a caveman brain and big fire explode make hot go very well, but also because after the barrel was toasted, the smell coming off of that thing was absurd. I think this was a wine cask, I believe it was, and you know, you go to a distillery, everything smells incredible. You have this beautiful whiskey smell from every square inch of the distillery, but a freshly charred cask is such a gorgeous smell. So that was really fun. Next, we walked across the site over to the standard tour. We saw a little bit of the distillery grounds. Here's some buildings and casks. It is a nice spot. And then we got into the walkthrough tour. This is where they tell you all about the brand. Kavalan was built in 2005, started distilling in 2006. They talk about their awards and whatnot, and they do get into production a little bit. We got to see the mash tun, the stills, etc., the usual distillery fare, which is always fun to see, but it got especially fun once we hit the warehouse tasting room. This is where they offered us a series of samples taken directly from the casks. There was a bourbon, a new oak, Madeira, and a Colheita port cask. I don't know how to say that, but that one was actually my favorite. And then we moved on to a blending session, and this is where I got to meet and sit down with Ann Ho, who would be guiding me through my first blending experience. Once we got to the blending room, they gave us access to 4 different types of casks. I'm not sure if they rotate the types of casks or not, but I think they do. But in my case, I was given access to a bourbon, a vino, an oloroso, and an ex-peated cask. And that is where I put together a whiskey that I would describe as pretty nice. It was okay, it was nothing special. It turns out blending is not super easy and does require some skill. I just always assumed that if I were given access to, let's say, 2 or more casks from any given distillery, I would immediately become the world's greatest master blender. But now that I've done it and the result was just okay, maybe I need to rethink that. Maybe I'm not, in fact, the greatest master blender who ever lived. Still probably in the top 5 though. And that was pretty much the bulk of the tour. Super fun day, but now let's jump into the part that I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for, the meat and potatoes of this video. Let's jump into my interview with Ann. Okay, so Ann, first of all, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for coming to Kavalan Distillery.
So I want to jump right into the questions here. And my first question for you is, I know that you have a rather new blending team here, and I want to ask you, How big is the current blending team, and what does that look like? How many members do you have, and how do you divide up the responsibilities?
The distillery blend team is small but professional. It consists of two blenders right now. We have a male blender, Zeros Young, my supervisor. The other is female blender, is me, and we also collaborate with some sensory testing panels for our Spirit Research Institute. Is comprises of 10 members.
So when you are preparing for a specific market, let's say Taiwan famously likes their sherried expressions.
Yeah,
Is that something that you keep in mind when you're preparing your whiskey, thinking, okay, this one's going out to Taiwan, or this one's more for the European market?
Different markets?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Preference do vary from different countries based on their different in culture, environment, and food habits. In Taiwan, we people love to drink sherry type whiskey, and for our neighbor Japan, the refresh highball whiskey are popular. Yes, and because they have the ready to drink culture, and for the Korean people, they love very strong, very bold flavors with high alcohol percentage. And for our markets in European, they have tends to find more complex and multi-layer taste whiskey and a little bit sweet. So the port cask sells well there. For like Canada or American consumers, they tend to find more strong flavors, unique single cask strength whiskeys.
Okay, so how about for when you're preparing a new release? So how far in advance do you start preparing for that new release? For example, I know that recently in 2025, you guys put out your 15-year-old expression. How long has that been in the works, and what was that process like?
Yeah. Taking the Kavalan 15 years old single malt whiskey as an example, it's a very long-term maturation, not only in the preparation and we choose the cask we used. So I would say it's maybe several years in advance.
Can we expect more standardized age statements in the future?
For whether we will have additional age statement whiskey or not will depending on the overall cask conditions and the feedback of the market. Stay tuned for what's to come.
Next, I want to talk about your past a little bit. So how did you get into blending? Was this sort of like a career goal of yours from the beginning?
Yeah.
Is it something you kind of fell into? And what was your journey like there?
Actually, for me, it's really a dream job. I graduated from National Taiwan University and joined the Kavalan in 2016. Yeah, with a master's degree in chemical engineering and the sensitive notes. And it's my first job. I wish it will be my last job in my life. And at the beginning, I worked as a research fellow to analyze the flavors in this whiskey and also know the whole whiskey production for Kavalan whiskey, which led to my transition into the blender team. And after we go through of the Kavalan whiskey, we realized that consumers are very curious about the science behind the whiskey. So with my scientific background and with the experiment working in this industry, the company appoints me as a brand ambassador to host the masterclass domestic and internationally to share the beauty of Kavalan to customers. So for me, it's really an incredible journey. I can experimentation with new products, exploring new flavors, as well as promoting Kavalan and promoting Taiwan to different customers.
Okay, building on that and you getting into the whiskey industry, if we look back a little bit further, can you remember your first experience with whiskey? Was there a particular whiskey that you fell in love with, or when were you introduced to whiskey, and what was that like?
Yeah, of course I remember, and that was the main reason I joined for Kavalan. Yeah, I was born in Yilan, the same county of the distillery located, and it's only taken me 15 minutes from my home to the distillery. So every day I drive my car, I'm very happy and excited. And around 2013, my family and I went to the distillery to celebrate acceptance of National Taiwan University for me. So we drank our first whiskey, Kavalan Classic. I was surprised and amazed by the very tropical fruitness and coconut, walnuts. For me, it's like a liquid perfume. So which embarked me my interest in whiskey. Also, Kavalan was established in 2005, and in 2006 March, we distilled our first new make spirits. And that was a historical moment not only for Kavalan, but also for Taiwan. The same date is my 14 years old birthday. The same date. So people said I was born for Kavalan. Yeah. I think I'm very lucky that I can celebrate my birthday with Kavalan every year.
All right, so coming back to your blending experience, has there been one expression that you found was particularly difficult to put together as there was a particular challenge for you in the blending process?
Yeah. Personally, the most challenging product would be triple cherry cask. As we choose one recipe and we will do the overall department's blending test. As anyone said he didn't like it, we revise. I remember the total amount of the number of revise could be more than 40 times in total. And the most challenging thing is from our chairman, Mr. Yudin Lee. He said, I want this whiskey, I want this triple cherry cask will not be diluted as you pour in water or ice. You can imagine how hard it is. Why whiskey will not be diluted? But we solve this problem by adding the King of Sweet Sherry, PX, Queen of Sweet Sherry, Muscatel Sherry. So if you drink Kavalan triple cherry cask, add water inside, it will become more smooth, more sweeter. The sweet will release. So we finally launched triple cherry cask in 2021, and now it sells really well.
So speaking of your blending process, when you're blending these, obviously there's a lot of whiskeys and there's a lot, you're drinking some whiskey, right?
Yeah.
How do you manage A, palate fatigue, and B, how do you not fall down drunk on the job every day?
Okay. For me, I travel a lot and I need to have a good pace each day. And every day we start our evaluation. They will have the standard as the first cup. We call it a calibration tool. So if you smell the first cup, you know you need to more time on the evaluation, or you can do it as usual. So the most important thing is keep yourself like a very precise machine, very stable and sensitive.
Okay, when it comes to your responsibilities, because you've got so much going on here at Kavalan, so I want to know how your time is kind of divided up. So how much of your time is dedicated to the blending process and being here on site at Kavalan and doing your, mixing everything together versus all the traveling that you have to do, all the presentations that you have to do. So my question here is how much time goes more towards one versus the other?
Yeah, I will cut it into half. From before the afternoon, I will be a blender and the chemical engineer of Kavalan whiskey because I have very precisely, very sensitive nose before the afternoon. And after the afternoon, I will be the brand ambassador, trying to prepare the slides for a masterclass and trying to remember all the things I need to share about Kavalan. So it's been a very busy job for me, but I think I'm very happy and very excited to share this beauty of Kavalan to customers.
And that wraps up our video for today. It was really nice getting out to Kavalan. It's a beautiful spot. The people who work there are super nice. And it was just a really good smelling day. Is that a weird thing to say? So thank you very much to Kavalan. Thank you to Anne in particular. Thank you for putting up with my very amateurish interview skills. And also I have a couple buddies who joined me that day. Thanks to them for coming out and helping me with the camera stuff and the audio stuff because I don't know what I'm doing. And guys, let me know if you want to see more of these kinds of videos. Kavalan has a great whiskey scene. They have a lot of wonderful distilleries. They have a great bar scene. They have loads of very affordable whiskey shops. I've already done a tour of one. Let me know if you want to see more of those. But yeah, do you want me to get out of the house more, basically? Finally, if you stuck around to find out what the mystery pour in the glass here is, I mentioned that it is a top seller from Kavalan from 3 different types of casks. This one should not be a big surprise to you. What I'm drinking is Kavalan Triple Sherry Cask. This one's been matured in Oloroso PX and Muscatel, as we heard in the interview. And respect to any whiskey that has to go through 40 plus different iterations in order to get released. It's good stuff. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, I have Patreon and PayPal linked down below. Every little bit helps. I've got patrons over here, and I guess we'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.